So, we are back again, taking a walk down memory lane to find out what Dying Light 2 is like 3 years after launch. There is a part 1 to this video going over the first section of the game before you get inside the main city walls, and if you haven't seen it already, I would recommend watching that before this one just to have the whole experience. The game is being played on Nightmare difficulty, and this video takes place directly after your first chase sequence with Waltz. So, without any further interruptions, please do enjoy Dying Light 2, 3 years later, Part 2. Our first mission back is to figure out how to paraglide, which may I add is a beautiful mechanic, as it clearly was made for the sole reason to move around the city. Speaking of the city as well, it is a cool environment that clearly had good intentions behind it with where they kind of wanted to go with this game. However, the big buildings don't really fit amazingly well within the gameplay flow, and if you take out the paraglider from the game, you can't really move around without the pacing going up and down. The best example of a mechanic that works is with the grappling hook. It doesn't stunt the parkour but adds to it, allowing for a new variation of movement without it being necessary. Whereas I find that the paraglider does the opposite and is basically a requirement when moving from building to building. Anyway, back to the game. Finishing our tutorial on how to fly, Lawan asks us to go and check out a nearby electrical substation to see if we can get the power back on. This leads to a great encounter with a couple of PKs. These guys were underused in the game. They have great chemistry, and I genuinely enjoy the small 15 minutes of gameplay you get with them, as it really feels like two friends you'd find in real life.
What's the big secret, huh? We need to get this piece of shit working, that's what.
My colleagues vastly oversimplifying things.
Interrupting our talk, however, were some renegades. Dispatching them, we make our way inside the substation and power it back on. This brings up a choice, and my stance on the factions hasn't really changed. However, I do have to admit that the survivors are much more enticing when it comes to the city due to the movement they can provide, especially vertically. Completing the substation, the one pretty much calls us a slowpoke and then says to meet her at the fisheye. Again, I still don't get the joke, but I head towards her and Meeting with Lawan, aka the Dying Light equivalent of Batman, we also get introduced to a nobody named Daniel. Genuinely, he is almost irrelevant, so I'm not going into detail. We have a drink with him, and midway through our conversation, the fisheye begins to get mortared by the renegades. This section makes us go from building to building, defusing the mortars like we are in CS. Although usually pretty easy, I had the mission take place at night, and because the roofs are not lit up with UV, I started getting run down by a few volatiles who literally rocked my shit. I was understandably fuming, so with this new rage I slaughtered all the renegades, allowing my boner for violence to be quenched. Jumping down to the fisheye, we rush in to help save Frank, the neighbourhood drunk, with Lawan not long after putting a bolt in a man's eye. Not really seeing why the renegade thought he could move faster than a crossbow shot, but leaving no time for thought, we're introduced to the main man PK, Jack Matt. He's pretty obnoxious if I'm being honest. He likes to try to butter us up by complimenting or trying to relate to us, but he just sounds like an utter twat by doing so. That being said, we appreciate the help, and he also offers to help us no catch attached. Unless... Nah, I'm joking for now, he's okay, and we set off to start his questline. Pointed towards a small cut-off island within the city itself, we are tasked with finding a man named Ro, who supposedly has all the information we would need pertaining to any GRE caches that still exist within the city walls, and the locations of them. This sends us on a wild goose chase, walking from place to place, tracking down Ro and his crew as they are being hunted by renegades themselves. We meet with a younger member of his team, and get cut off as I'm quickly reminded as to why I had nightmares continuing this game, getting hung, drawn and quartered by the renegades. This time I upped to using my trusty two-handed axe, because you know, bigger is better sometimes, and I came up with a solid game plan. Use the spikes. That is it. Again, I reiterate from my first video, but these things are so broken. Most enemies will die upon impact, and if it's a boss about half HP, they will just die immediately. Whoever designed them either needs a raise or clearly couldn't be the games themselves and offered it as like a good game mechanic. We dispatch the remaining enemies and get shown where Ro had been chased to. Climbing up this tower took more effort than I wished to let on, but in the end I got to the top and was fed a heaper load of bullshit by the renegade guard. I'm pretty sure I dodged here, and I know I was out of stamina, but come on, I feel like I was out the way. Getting over this absolute debauchery, I stormed back in, struggling with the parkour once again, and set to light the guard because I didn't want to reclimb the tower a third time. Walking through a set of doors, we actually see that Ro had been okay and taken care of the remaining renegades with his platoon. We delivered to him some orders originally given to us by Jack Matt, and he loses his shit a bit while telling us he only knows of one location within the old military compound outside a town that is surrounded by chemicals.
What's next?
Lawan meets us nearby and it basically says goodbye to us for now, because we can't get within the vicinity of the building without dying of leukemia, but it reminds us to stay alive. Taking a head start towards the compound, Jack Matt spouts off some nonsense before we get there, and to our surprise, upon touching the chemical, we black the fuck out, clearly having been roofied earlier, and wake up on a pile of corpses nearby with people running away from us. This leaves us near our next objective though, so no complaints there. We walk into the PK's main base and a huge landlocked cargo ship that they have turned into a weird amalgamation of homes. We talk to Jack Matt and let him know where Ata had been left to rot. To be honest, I thought people would have already found him by now, but clearly not. We are told by Jack Matt, if we scratch his back, he will scratch ours. Bit weird if you ask me, but no time to make things weird here. He asks us to talk to Juan, a businessman at heart and one of, if not my tied favourite character. Being sent on another wild goose chase, however, leads us to eventually finding him and pretty much getting told no to any help unless we could be useful to him. A quick stop off at Daniel's party, and we meet with Juan again, but this time in his actual quarters. He asks us to get a GRE spyware device fixed by a technician who lives in a church nearby. Agreeing because we really have no other choice takes us towards a giant church, cathedral, a place of God. Making our way inside and towards the main door, our voice starts talking over the intercom. The person we are tasked to meet basically makes us play gladiator with a beast of an enemy that he calls Lito. I can't tell for the life of me if it's a man or a woman, but this guy seems a little too interested in, if you ask me. Taking care of business with the road raged thing, we have to turn off the electricity to a trap he has set to make sure we don't climb up after him. 5 minutes later I get a barrel dropped on me like I'm Donkey Kong, nearly stabbed in the back, and then have the same man begging us to kill him. Come down and explain why we are there in the first place, for him to fix the device. However, he needs us to help him first. Climbing to one of the peaks of the church, we turn on our fuse box and make our way back down, and to our surprise, he'd already fixed our little bit of spyware and sends us on our way. With this news that we have the transmitter, we're all now set to climb the VNC tower, the tallest building in the city, which will allow for the largest radius of transmissions to be sent out. This is a suicide mission, and Lawan lets us know that when she warns us.
Sorry, Lawan, but Jack will dig up it. Ro, I'm on my way.
These words might linger with us, but we need to do this for the people of Villador. It can help bring aid to everyone around who may not know where safety is being provided or what is going on within the walls. So, with a heavy heart, we make our way to the bottom of the tower. However, our visit is cut short before we even get there. Ro redirects us to a nearby substation, as the building power had gone out randomly. When checking things out, we find renegades caught onto the PK's plan and try to sabotage them. We make quick work of the enemies and hurry to power on the substation. This was enough to bring power back to the main building, and with that, we meet up with Ro in his temporary office. He lets us know what the plan is and what issues have come up. The power still hasn't turned on throughout the building, so already a few of his men are trying to sort it out, but a sudden loss in power again causes his men to be trapped below within the lower levels. We rush down to back up the guys trapped, but making it through was a challenge. I unfortunately caught the attention of volatiles that were blocking my way through, and they would not leave me alone. It was unreal. I thought I'd been stuck there, so waiting for my moment, I decided to run for it using the UV lamp to stun them. This chase was way too close for my liking, however making it through, we are left to clear out some infected before seeing the first PK member, who is on his last legs, letting us know where the rest went. Powering on the system had been easy enough, just had to flick some switches and then it was on. I do have to admit this part of the game is boring, get why they did it, but there is no urgency. It's not like we could have saved the PKs down here, we have no time limit, so swimming around for about 5 minutes to pound the tower really felt boring and like a non-factor. We move onward and upwards anyway, taking an elevator to meet Roe and his team on the 8th floor. We sit down with Roe and his team for one night of rest, drinking and laughing as all of us are preparing for the chance of death that follows the next day. But for a moment, you'd think the world is peaceful.
Special treat for the night.
To the fallen.
And pretty ladies. Why do you want to exclude your wife?
Let's hear some more.
Waking up, we find Roe and his crew went up not too long before us. We accompany Roe and the team up the elevator, with the fuse shorting out midway through, but nothing really to worry about. When making way up, we keep our guard about us. Finding infected around the area, as we enter we don't notice, but there is a new type of zombie next to us. As Roe pushes us back, we proceed to black out and watch from afar as all the team slowly start to kind of head out of our view. Keeping our wits as we head in, seeing for ourselves what happened using clues, we find Roe, injured but alive in a container nearby. He gives us the transmission device and tells us to complete the mission, falling still in our arms. I like Roe. His character had definitely not been fleshed out, but for what was there, he was a good laugh. There was good dialogue interactions, and he seemed as human as you could get in this sort of situation. And it's a shame that he really did get killed off here.
Fuck. It's locked.
We aren't given any time to grieve though. Being trapped in the dark ourselves, Lauren picks up her radio, and with that she gets Frank to help us out too. Not without a little bit of convincing though.
That's what he needs.
Frank, you smelly old alcoholic cunt. Why don't you fucking get a grip on yourself and step up for once?
He guides us, however, through the maze of this building, allowing us to unlock our last survivor gadget, the grappling hook. Probably the best item in the game by far.
Okay.
Putting it to good use straight away, we make our way up even further. Frank tells us that we'll have to make our way to the west wing of the building, as it lets us avoid a large majority of the infected. This isn't, however, the small chase I completely forgot about, making me shit myself in a moment. By this point in the game though, the parkour is pretty fluid, and because of the upgrades, it really does feel great running through both open and closed spaces. Going even further, we climb the building, talking to Frank as we do so. He finally lets us know what his original plan was, to basically have a radio show, letting all of Villador know what is going on in the world, and to bring music back. Which to me actually would be good. I genuinely think music is like a nice reminder sometimes of, life can be worse, and it brings a bit more humanity to a world that's lost so much already.
Messages of peace and unity. Bringing people together. Giving them hope. Yeah, well, I was a hopeless romantic in my younger days. What can I say?
We get to the top, where it's decision time.
What's next?
We either give it to Juan and the PKs, so Juan can spy on Jack Matt and overthrow him, or we can give it to Frank and the survivors. I want to say it's a difficult choice, but playing through this game, I like the city survivors more than I like the PKs. As much as Frank is a depressed drunk, he wants to do good. Jack Matt, however, is trying for like a type of dictatorship where it looks like people have free will. So I went with Frank.
What kind of music you play?
Good. Frank is back, and I've got some more exciting news for you. Blankets, food, and drinking water are being collected at the canteen. All those in need can report to Nicholas. Stay tuned, and I'll be back soon with another message of hope. Meanwhile, enjoy the music.
Somehow Lawan appears behind us to celebrate the good news, but also gets mad at us herself, complaining that she needed new trainers, like we're the ones who told her to come up climb the tower ourselves. We get a small amount of time to take in the view. with the cutscene showing what Frank had in mind when in charge of the radio. It really does add a lot to the world's environment, makes it seem like parts of the healing, you know? Anyway, being forced to retrieve new paratrainers for Lawan ended up being next on our list. Making it to her old apartment, we walk around where she used to live, finally coming across a box of trainers. We grab them and see a picture. That fucker. When he said the last girlfriend he had was too much, he meant Lawan? Unbelievable. So we question Lawan about it, who gets upset with us snooping. But seriously, there was nowhere else to look. It was like right in front of us when you opened the box. We wait upon a rooftop for her to finally come and collect her shoes. Night falls and we wake up to her sitting by a campfire. This allows us to get a deeper look into why she is the way she is. Maybe convince her to not, take revenge, and it doesn't tend to end too well. We choose to empathize with her here, and it's clearly a changing point in the story.
Give up, do you?
You should know that by now.
You should know I fucking hate whimpering.
Saying how you feel isn't whimpering.
Fine. Stick around if you have to, but don't interrupt me. I'm busy.
Getting drunk?
No, you dork. Looking at the stars.
Waking up from our midnight stargaze with Lawan, Frank contacts us about what he can do to help in regards to the GRE doctor. He found out that the Renegades are making moves to try and find the same database as us, so we head off to the power-up another transmission tower to allow Frank to spy on the Renegades' conversations more. After doing this for a while, he lets us know where they might be meeting up. We walk into a room and it turns out to be a trap. This was pretty easy. The spikes in this game are my saving grace. It allows me to finish so many fights pretty quickly without wasting too much time. We end up tweaking out mid-fight, though allowing for total domination. We end up passing out and wake up to Frank. He talks to us about the Night Runners and what they meant. For the best group of experts within Villanor, they clearly were not that great though. This being said, he lets us know about having been in contact with Hakon. Supposedly Hakon wanted to meet us in a church to talk things out. Pretty obvious trap, but once we were there, we were ambushed by more renegades. Now, I enjoy the fighting in this game, but I'm a bit disappointed in the amount of enemy variants there are within the human factions. We never get introduced to anyone new after the kind of first part of the game, which is a shame, because the fighting almost becomes like monotonous. Fighting Hakon really was no different either. We sat up a ladder and kicked him off multiple times till he eventually got stuck and made the entire encounter me swinging into a corner. When leaving the building, Hakon eventually confronts us one last time. I say to him, I don't want to fight anymore, and he sits down in agreement. We ask why he did what he did to Lawan, and he explains how Waltz would have killed her if he didn't listen and obey. Speaking of Lawan, she appears like Batman and points a crossbow at his head. We talk it out, explaining all that happened, which makes her put down her weapon and let Hakon go. Clearly conflicted, she leaves, and so do we. Making it back to the fisheye all in one piece, Lawan thanks us, and I have to admit she's growing on me at this point. Her character growth is insane, and I can actually see visible change in her personality as we progress. In the fisheye, Lawan gets made a Night Runner, and I've never really mentioned it, but she always looked up to them and the work they did.
Thank you.
Lawan, they're waiting for you downstairs.
I'm coming, Hakon. Fuck. You...
We find out later from Hakon where the GRE scientist had been last located, at the bazaar. Last time we were there, it had been in shambles, so this time really was no different. Upon entering, we were met by Sophie, injured but alive, who blames us for what happened, but still helps us. Very confused on why she does that, but we don't linger too long, and off to a building nearby where they might have been kidnapped too. In there we meet another member of the bazaar named Vincenzo. He is in not great condition, however he does allow us to contact the doctor, which she gives a place to meet her, and that's it. Buying off some renegades on our way out, we fast travel to where we need to be and end up meeting with the doctor. Meeting with the Dr. Veronica, she shows us how to make it across the toxins with a kind of anti-drug that grants resistance to the chemicals for a short period of time. With that, we make our way through a horde of infected down to the lower levels, where we find out Veronica is claustrophobic when she is stuck in an elevator. We managed to get the power back on, and she lets us know the only reason she's aware of the layout is because she had visited once before. Yeah, right. Completing a puzzle to open a final door, we enter an office. Wait, what? Her office. Who could have seen this coming? We question her about it all, and she feigns ignorance to what sort of experiments had taken place at this facility. Inclined to believe her, we make it down to the lower levels where we find the database we are looking for. Unfortunately, there is no information of use available in it. An absolute waste of fucking time, I tell you. We fight some renegades who again ambush us, taking care of them as we leave, and we find Waltz, who we give the fattest concussion in the world by dropping a tank on his head. However, this only makes him pissed off. He chases us back through the facility, but this time not as scary as it had been the first time we got chased. We get out of the top only to fight him. Midway through, we collapse and start to have another drug-addicted rage where we accidentally kill the doctor. A shame, I know, but the worst of it had been when Waltz bombed half the city after that and took our GRE. Whilst we are knocked out, Lawan again comes to our rescue, dragging us all the way to a safer area to recover. She lets us know what's going on. Basically, Jack, Matt, Juan and Frank are going to meet the renegade leader. We go to the lower level of the fisheye to watch Frank and Jack Matt get driven to the Colonel to discuss the issue of the missiles. Before they step in though, Frank is struck by an arrow which is found to be poisoned. We help get rid of any renegades and rush to the nearby herbalist who tells us what we need to cure the poison. This is seriously stressful and I didn't want Frank to die, so the fact you have a time limit when heading back, otherwise he might die, is actually quite scary. Luckily I do make it in time and he begins to heal not long after. Jack Matt instructs us to go after the driver by staying on the rooftops, and we follow him as he parks within a garage nearby. Some words echo through my mind though. The herbalist, when mentioning the poison, says that renegades aren't known for using this type. We begin to believe that Jack Matt might have a little more to say than he seems to be laying on. We let Lawan know this and head inside to meet the driver. I have never been more terrified of surprise in my life. We are chased through this abandoned shopping district by everything under the sun. We survive the chase, but immediately met by the rest of the building, brawling with renegades. I even started losing my shit a bit when fighting them. It was more tedious than anything else. This leads to our driver, who takes us to the renegades' leader, the Colonel. It chucks you in a sneak section, which I'm sure probably is quite possible. However, I decided to fight everyone in my path as it seemed easier. Eventually, we come face to face with the Colonel, and he tells his men to back off and explains to us that he was not under the attack on Frank, citing that the poison they use isn't one of the variety that Frank had. This confirms our beliefs that even the game gives us a choice to fight the Colonel or decide to trust him and work with him. I believed him this time. He didn't seem like the type to try and risk his life for no reason, and with that is a set of cars ready to drive us to the missile site. The car gets blown up on the drive back, leading to the confrontation between Frank and Jack Matt. However, like a pussy he is, Jack runs as soon as missile strikes nearby. We run into the rubble, however, looking for the underground passage. This leads us to go Super Saiyan again, and we start to have visions of Waltz. Upon waking up, we are near the missile silos. We start to think we may have killed Hakon or even Lawan, but luckily Hakon picks up to let us know we were just tripping out.
I'm so close, Lawan.
It all comes down to this. We had to make our way inside, and I did. We fight through brigades of renegades until Lawan cuts us off. She was injured but persisted on helping us. However, as we walk through a door, it shuts behind us, locking. We are faced with a large group of renegades. Knowing Lawan is also in trouble, we hurry to take down the trash in front of them. We show off even more by going Super Saiyan 2.
This is what is known as a Super Saiyan that has ascended past a Super Saiyan.
And with that, we black out soon after. Finding Lawan even more injured than before, Hakon appears and tells us to carry on. He can take care of her. Going back into the large hangar, we find the lights are all off and there are a ton of volatiles. At this point, I know I could outrun them, kind of, so using my trusty UV, I decided to just make the run straight through the safe area. It's always a bit of a gamble, but what can I say, I'm a lucky man. Furthering into the facility, we run through even more renegades until finally getting towards. This boss fight is both good and bad, but you know what? We will beat it. This fight is for Gohan. I mean, Lawan, Hakon, Frank, Juan, Eitan, all the people you've heard. We keep maneuvering around the arena following Waltz as he shows off all these other stages. He also has achieved Super Saiyan, but isn't up to our level yet. Even though he did kill me once, but his second phase is probably the easiest. He just runs and charges this weird haymaker kind of like combo. That's just super easy to dodge. The third stage is kind of annoying though. He runs around the arena, and as we get to like each spot, he eventually gets to a last spot, and we finally show him what it's like to go even. This part of the fight is so fun. Even when Waltz tries to match us by taking a shit ton of inhibitors, we still wail on him, beating the absolute brakes off this guy. We have him in our hand, ready to kill him, ready to make him pay until... Somehow Mia's still alive, but she looks like a corpse. We take her back to a ventilator. She survives and begins to breathe again. This is what we've wanted from the start. Our sister back, our family back. Lawan snaps us to reality. The bombs are going to go off and there is no way to shut them down. Waltz can't do it and is basically almost dead as well. It gives us a choice to either save Lawan or take Mia out ourselves. We choose to save the person we've looked so hard for. Hakon appears by our side, letting us know he'll go and save Lawan himself. We slowly carry Mia outside, the facility crumbling around us, life feeling fleeting in this moment. We managed to escape. Mia didn't survive long. Just long enough to see one more final sunrise before she ended up passing on. The survivors take over the city after Matt got outed for trying to start a war. Frank keeps to his promise of bringing music all over the city and keeping everyone updated. Life begins to improve in Villador. And as for us, we end up leaving, walking to wherever the world will take us next. Lawan joins us, of course. We have our motley crew, we have no goal, only a destination. This game was amazing. Reading all the comments you guys left last time, I could see why so many of you may like and dislike the game. But since replaying it, I genuinely have found it fun. They really have worked on this game, improving on what could have been a failure and making it into quite a successful game. I really enjoyed playing through it. I'll score it on 3 categories. Story, to how the story read to the player, gameplay, how it feels, and the characters. How they were kind of like in the game and what they felt like. For the story, I'll give the game a solid 6 out of 10. I don't think the story in this game is amazing. It does leave a lot to be desired, but it definitely hits a lot of key emotional notes and gives our character a fairly compelling reason to even be within the city. For gameplay, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. They have given Dying Light 2 the love and respect it deserved from day one, and it definitely shows. The movement works, the combat is insanely fluid, and I enjoy the combo of both items and weapons add-ons you can have. Finally, the characters, I'll give a 7 out of 10. This is mainly carried by like Hakon, Lawan, Juan, Sophie, and Eitan, plus a few side characters that I enjoyed. They seriously sell this game, and it's not even a contest. Without them, I would probably have hated most, if not all, characters. The game doesn't allow for a lot of bonding to happen, and we don't learn too much about most of the characters. I don't think I seriously got attached to anyone except Eitan and Hakon. However, for all the bad writing, the good characters really do shine through and allow for a pretty enjoyable experience. My final rating for this game is a 7.5 out of 10. This game has its grey areas where a lot is left to be desired, and I can understand why people were disappointed and dissatisfied due to this. But it really is a fun game. It's compelling enough to keep you playing from start to finish, and it does a great job really selling the Parker on combat for me. there still is work to be done, but they've done well with what they started with, maybe having better characters and sorting the pacing out. It suffers majorly from poor pacing, always having something major going on and never letting us see the characters for what they are, unless you do a load of side quests. Anyway, thank you to everyone who commented and liked the first video. I hope this one is just as good for you all again. I appreciate the support, and let me know what game you think I should cover below. At the moment, I'm looking, at Dying Light, like the original game, not including the DLC, or Cyberpunk 2077. Anyways, please like this video, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you all later. Take care.